So I'm working on the Brother Stellaire, and it has a big 9.5 by 14 hoop, right? But I wanted a fill pattern that was bigger than my 9.5 by 14 hoop. Can I do it? Can I make a fill pattern that meets end to end to end? Well, I can. I came up with this technique, and I think you will enjoy being able to make, well, a fill pattern big as a shower curtain if you want, and it matches. Are you intrigued? I'm Cathy. This is Sewing Tech Knock. I think if you have My Design Center or IQ Designer, you need to watch this. So, as you know, if you've been watching Sewing Tech Talk, I love My Design Center. I really enjoy putting things together. And I also like quilting. I'm kind of a quilter. And I use what's called decorative fills. Because we have My Design Center, in Baby Lock Land it's called IQ Designer. Because we have that, we can put like a quilting type design using what's called a decorative fill around our design. And we can also use that in My Design Center when we create a shape or whatever we want to do, we can put these decorative fills in there. But a while back, I kind of wanted to do something that was continuous with the decorative fills. And I had an issue. When you create a design in a shape, a different size shape in My Design Center, and you put that fill in it, the outside edges, well, they don't necessarily line up so that if I made another exact same square, that they would look like they were continuous and they match. And I thought about that long and hard for, quite honestly, over a year. So one night I woke up with a head slap. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, I think I can fix this problem. So let me show you how we can do a continuous fill. Now, let me show you a reason why this was so important for me to figure out, that I had to think about it for so long. So I am making this little purse. And here's my little purse that I'm making. And you can see here's the body of the purse and the different flaps. Now I know that when we create something, when we embroider something, when we quilt something, it adds body. And that's super important when it comes to a purse. I like to add body to something without adding a lot of weight. And when you do an overall design, like with a decorative fill, well, what that does is that gives that item body. Now, here's my problem, or it was my problem till I fixed it out. So here's the instructions for that, and here's the fabric that I need to cut. What I needed for the body of the purse was some fabric with this decorative fill on it to be 10.5 by 11.5 for both the front and the back. Well, I'm using the Brother Stellaire, beautiful machine with a nice big hoop. What's the problem? The max hoop on this machine is 9.5 by 14. Now, if you quickly do the math, you know I can't fit that 10.5 width in here. I'm an inch short. So the result is, if I want to do this fill continuously to match from one to the other, I have to do it in at least 2 hoopings. So let me show you what I did. I used one of the decorative fills, and I chose the circles because for the video, that's especially the easiest one to do. So I did the circles, and I don't know if you can see, it continues off the side. This has been done in 2 hoopings. Now look real closely at the join. Do you see how it matches? Well, what I did is I created a box, a size box in My Design Center to put this decorative fill, which is all these circles. I put it in there, and I manipulated it so that, you guessed it, it matches at the very end. So even though I've only done 2 hoopings with this, I could keep going for forever. I could do the bottom of curtains, the bottom of a skirt. I can make an all over pattern, which I have done many, many times. All the different, well, most of the different decorative fills can be treated this way so that you get a unit. And I'd really love to show you how to do that. So we'll finish this up in a little bit, but let's go to the screen of the machine. Let's go to My Design Center and let me show you what I'm talking about. So in My Design Center, what we have is we have all the mini decorative fills. So I'm going to go to the Region Properties menu right here, and in the machine you touch this, and then when you touch Select, you see all of your different decorative fills. Here they are. Now this Stellaire has been upgraded to the latest and the greatest version, so it might have a few more fills than your machine does. This one has 30 different exquisite, beautiful, beautiful fills. Now, while having said that, this machine may have more fills than your machine does. If you have a machine that has My Design Center or in Baby Lock Land, IQ Designer, you can do this process. And I've written a handout to help you out. So here's my handout. And to get the handout, you go to the description of the video, and it's usually highlighted in blue, and click on the link, and it will take you to, well, all of my handouts. It's under moreso.com/shop. Anyway, the link will take you there. Now what I've done is I've given you a chart for all the different fills and a space for you to write down your numbers. Because quite honestly, this is a process. So if you have an older version of the machine that as long as it has My Design Center or IQ Designer, I guarantee with whatever fills you have, you can do this. But if you have an upgraded machine, look at all these pretty, let's say sexy fills that you can play with. So now, go ahead and download your handout after the video, so you can take it step by step and do what I'm doing. Like I said, this is kind of a little bit of a process, but once you do it, you've got it. And you can take a fill and an embroidery. Oh, I've done it in quilt borders. Anyway, I could go on and on. So now, let's choose a fill, and I'm going to choose that circle, fill number 5, because I think it's the easiest to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to do this in a black thread, black color rather. I'm going to stitch in whatever thread color I want, but I'm going to say OK. Now you can see in the region properties, in the region menu, which is this square right here, I have those things chosen. Now I really don't want to have an outline around the edge of my design, right? So I'm going to pull a square up from the Shapes tab, and because I don't want an outline, I'm going to choose this center square. This one is the outline, this is just the fill, and this one is both. I really just want the center square. There it is. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see, it brought in the fill that I've already chosen. There is no outline around it because I chose the square. If you accidentally did choose the other one, you can come up to the Align Properties, choose No Sew for the line, and touch the bucket and touch the outline, and it would make that go away. Now, this is not the fill. This is just a representation of what it looks like. What I need to do is I need to make it so it's a certain size that these circles end right at the edge. And there's kind of a sort of a formula for that. When I go to Next, on this machine, what I have is I have some controls that I can play with. I can change the size of the font, and I can change whether there's an outline around the outside edge. Now, I don't want that outline, obviously. I'm okay with everything else. So I'm going to touch this, say Off, touch Set, and now I've taken that outline around the edge off. Now, Preview is where I can see if I've chosen the right thing. But I haven't changed the size of the square yet. So let's go Return, and oh my goodness, that square does not have a red box around it. And this is kind of an issue that I need to address with you. If you have made a square and you've touched the screen or done anything, it takes that selection box away. And if we select again, what happens is it's going to show us the size of the box that we've selected it, and not the size of the square. And I want the square to be absolutely precise. So, oh my goodness, let's go all clear and bring in another square so that it has a box right around the absolute outside edge of it. It's pretty simple to do. You touch the shapes, you touch that, you touch the square, you say OK. And I have that little red box around the square again. Now let's adjust the size. And this is where I had that head slap at 3 o'clock in the morning. When we had the very first embroidery machines, and I remember then, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, when we had the very first embroidery machines, our fill was 4 inches, our area of embroidery was 4 inches by 4 inches. More importantly, it was 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. That's the size we could play with. And I thought, well, if designers are designing these fills, maybe they design in that size of an area. And it turns out I was mostly correct. So now, I'm going to deal in millimeters. Don't be scared. Why? Well, that's the original amount, was 100 by 100. And millimeters are just a little bit more precise when you're dealing with measurements on the machine. Don't worry, after we do this, you can always quickly switch it back to inches. Let's switch it to millimeters. I'm going to go to my settings tab, and on the next page, I have inches, but I can choose millimeters. Like I said, don't be scared. It's going to be okay. Now, I still have that red box. When I touch size, I can see that this box is 157.3 millimeters by that same measurement. I want that to be, well, with playing with this, I've discovered that it's not exactly 100 by 100. That gets you close. Back to that handout. For each of the different sizes, there's a unique size square or even rectangle that kind of works. I'm dealing with the circles, and I've played around a little bit, and I've discovered that it needs to be just a little bit bigger than that 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, 100.5. So let's change our box to that. I'm going to use the reduction key and watch this number right up here till I get it to 100.5 by 100.5. Went a little bit too far, boom, there it is. Now I've set my square okay, the exact size that I wanted it to be. Now, let's see if I nailed it. Next means I can see that square, and I can change these properties. I still don't want that outline. Set. Now, when I hit preview, this machine is going to render exactly what this looks like. And I'm looking for complete circles inside my square. Let's see if I get it. Let's hit the preview. Now, it's going to give you a message that you have not memorized this. Do you want to memorize this? Well, I do eventually, but I want to make sure that I have the right size, that my circles fit exactly within my square. It's kind of sounding like an old game show if you listen. But I'm not going to save it yet. I still have the opportunity to do that. So I'm just going to say, okay, I'm not saving it, and let's see. Oh my goodness. Well, quite honestly, I knew you were coming, so I kind of sort of mostly nailed it. If you can look on the very outside edge, can you see there's a little tiny bit of the actual extra parts of the circle? Now, I have my measurements that I have it in the handout for the size of the square. Frankly, on your machine on any given day, it might be a little bit different. This just gives you a starting point. So, I have those little bits. I think let's take them off, and I want to show you how you would modify this. So I'm going to hit return, return, and there's my square. Now, remember, if I select the square, it's not going to be the right size. So I'm just going to bring in a fresh square. It's the easiest way to select it and have it be absolutely perfect. All clear. Okay. Bring in the square again. This should be pretty familiar by now. Okay. Now, there's my square. Let's change the size of it. I was at 100.5 before, and I had a little bit too much circle on the edge. So I want to make this square just a little bit smaller so that my circle fits exactly in there. Now here's another big hint. On your handout, I've written my square sizes. Now, if you do this a lot, you might have to know just a little bit more than that little list that I gave you. But my best suggestion for this is write down where you were before. I knew I remembered that because that's where I starting point. But if you do a different amount and you want to come back to it, it's super important to know the size of your square that you started with. I'm going to go down to, let's say 100.4, because I want a little bit less square to fit that thing in. I could even go down to 100.3, but we'll see. Okay, it was almost perfect before. You know the drill by now. Next, I want that outline off, set, and preview. Let's see. Oh, that is perfect. I just took that little tiny bit off. Now, let's save it because I like it. I'm going to hit memory, and let's save it to the memory of the machine. I could also save it to a jump drive. Speaking of which, I have a USB drive, and I've done this work for a lot of the different fills, and if you go through this much work, you're probably going to want to save it. So I have a jump drive called Continuous Fills, and this is where I store all the ones that I've done. So let's see, let's put that back in. Now let's set it, and I want to show you another trick. Set. Okay, now it's in the embroidery edit screen, embroidery land as I like to call it. Let's check and make sure that it's continuous. And there's a quick and easy feature on the machine to do that. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to the border function, which is the 9 little boxes. And when I touch that, what I can do is I can add these units together. So I'm going to hit add one on the top. That looks pretty good. Let's add one on the bottom. That looks pretty good. Now, let's bring it over and go to the side. Wow! Send it to the middle. Look at that design. Look at that continuous set of circles. Now, I can stitch these and stitch these and stitch these and add them one right after the other. And the outside edge, well, it's always going to match. Imagine the possibilities. So, but remember, I made this 100 millimeters-ish by 100 millimeters-ish. That's 4 by 4. So each one of these units is approximately that. I don't know how many inches. I think it's 4 by 4. Remember, you can always come back to the settings. Go here, go to inches, okay. And now you know the size of it in inches, if you're more comfortable with that. Now, what if this works perfectly for my pattern? I don't know if it does. It's 11.84 by 7.89. Well, it kind of doesn't, does it? Dude, it doesn't. I needed 11.5 by 10.5. So basically, I want 11.5 tall by maybe 5.25, and that will give me the 2 units that work for my pattern piece in 2 hoopings. Can I change the size? Absolutely. Let's go to size. Now, see the 1 unit? I can take this 1 unit and I can change it. And even though I've done that border feature, I can do that. But I want to recalculate stitches. So I'm going to say, okay, and let's take this back to just 1 unit. Let's change the size of it by doing recalculate stitches. Okay. Now, let's take this unit down just a little bit, and the machine's going to recalculate the stitches. Cool. Border function. Now, I have some smaller circles. This behaves like any other embroidery design that you've ever created. You can enlarge the size, you can reduce the size, you can multiply it, you can copy it, you can paste it, you can rotate it. Anything that you can do with any embroidery design, you can do with this. So, let's see what size it is now. 8 by 7, I need it bigger again. So, let's change the size of that 1 square, and that gets me pretty close. So can you see how maybe you can kind of manipulate this to get exactly the size that you want? I could always make it much bigger and just cut out the pattern piece that I want. But remember, I might have to do that in 2 hoopings. And now I can make it continuous. So I've already done it. I've already created what I've started on my little design. I want to place that. But before I go there, before I do that, let me show you some of the fun stuff that I've done using this feature. So, okay, let's go back home and let's pull up some of the pretty designs on my jump drive, my USB drive. So here it is. This one, remember, is marked continuous fills. So there's continuous fill patterns. Look at the fun stuff that I've done. This is one of the patterns. This is another one of the patterns. There's those circles again. There's another one. Look at all this fun stuff. And I've made these so that they're all repeatable. And I saved them as soon as I did. So here's the, let's see, what do we got? We have there's the roses. That's a very pretty one. There's that little pattern. Set. Now, let's use that border function to see how it looks when it matches. See how it all comes together. And I can make fabric with my own embroidered roses. I've also done some other stuff. When you do this and you multiply it, this is a little thing that I made with one of those decorative fill patterns. Notice how I changed the color, because these could be very much just separate embroideries. This is like a little, I covered an oatmeal box, but look at how elegant it became. And there's that one fill pattern created so that it repeats, and I could change the color. I hope you can see the possibilities. This is one of my favorite things to do with IQ Designer. Okay, enough playing around. I need to finish what I started. So let's go home and let's pull up my design so that I can finish my little thing. Now I'm working on the stellaire, and the one thing that's important about the stellaire is I can use 2-point placement. 2-point placement means that if I have a design already put in there, then I can actually go ahead and match one right to the other when I rehoop, using 2 different points on the design. So let's pull up my embroidery. I'm pretty sure I put it on my jump drive in the B pocket. There it is. I did. There it is. That's the exact one that I'm using. That's the exact one I'm using on my little thing. Now, when I'm in this embroidery edit, I need to make little marks so that I can match this one to the other. If I can go from the corner to the corner, tell the machine that I've done that. But because it's circles, I don't have the corner. So it's our border function to the rescue. Here. Oops, that's not what I want. I want to go to edit. Let's go to that border function. Now I need to put little marks in the corners because I don't have one down here. This is a little tag that you can add on to the different corners. So in this square that's highlighted, I can put one in the upper corner, one in the other corner. Let's go down to the other square. Okay. Now, and then now I have these little marks that I can use to actually literally match when I'm doing my 2-point placement. So I'm going to get rehooped. I've put my little corner marks on. I'm going to use them to actually add on to this next one. I need to rehoop, and I'll meet you right back where I'm going to do this next one, and I'm going to show you it's going to match just perfectly. Who knew? So I've rehooped, and I'm going to continue this design on. Now, I really only need 2 separate ones, but I wanted to show you how I can make it continuous all the way across. Now, when I did that, when I prepared for this rather, I made it so that my stabilizer went down so that I had enough stabilizer for the whole thing when I rehooped. And I just used a lightweight stabilizer because this is a very lightweight design. Now, I've made my design so that it is repeatable. But I kind of lose that effect, don't I, if I don't kind of have them touch. Now I'm working on the stellaire, and it has, because it's been upgraded, the 2-point placement. So here's my design. I've rehooped so that I can see part of my design. The design can't be too large that it fills the hoop, because you need room to maneuver and manipulate. I think I've left myself enough room. So let's go to embroidery, and let's use that 2-point placement. If I come to layout, this is what it looks like right there. Now, I can choose the parts that I'm going to match. I'm going to match the lower right-hand corner, the right-hand side of this design. I could easily do the top one or the middle. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to do, and I could do the center also. But next, then I'm going to choose the orientation that I'm going to match. If I was stacking these on top of each other, well, matching the bottom part would be perfect. But now I'm matching the side. This works great. So I'm going to go next. Now what the machine's going to do is it's going to shine down using that W plus foot. It's going to shine down a little light on the screen, on the bed of the embroidery. And there's my little light right there. Now I'm going to use the arrow keys to move it. And I can move it fast, medium, or very slow. I'm going to go medium because I don't need to go very far. And I'm going to use these move keys to move the design, the little light in position with that little thread mark that I put using the border feature. So there's my light. I'm not too far away. And I got right in there with my vision, looking under the foot to see that that light is right in that corner of the arrow. Remember, I put the arrow on there because I couldn't see the corner because the circles don't have a corner. Now, let's go next and we'll line up the top to see how straight I hooped. Well, it's not very straight at all. So let me use this mark over here. Let me go a little bit faster because I have a long way to go, and go over and put this mark in position. Now when I set it, the machine automatically rotated my design to the perfect position, and it rotated it 2.5 degrees. And there it is right there. Pretty neat, right? Now we can check it. I know the machine does a pretty good job, but I'm going to use this trial key right here and go to the center of the right-hand side and see if I'm pretty darn close. And yeah, I'm pretty darn close. Let's go up to the top and see. Well, that's pretty darn close too. So now all I really have to do is I just need to stitch it because the machine has helped me place it just perfectly. So I'll stitch it and then let's see how good the machine does. I finished the next segment of my embroidery. It only took 2 minutes. And I don't know if you can see, check it out. Here's where it joined. Look at how perfectly that 2-point placement, it just nailed it. So what have we done? We've created a fill pattern that we can use continuously, and we have the features on the machine to make that happen. Now, don't forget there is a handout. Now, some of you, and I seldom mention this machine, this is the Baby Lock Stellaire. There's a machine above it called the Luminaire, and it's for the local Moores customers only, because that machine, well, it can't be sold online. But there are some differences in a more top-of-the-line machine like that one is, and I explain those in your handout. Remember I mentioned this one has a lot of fills. Well, that one has even more. And it does have the ability to use what's called a custom fill, which means that, well, this purse was made using this process. And this fill, well, I can use a custom fill. They're pretty fun, and you can get some pretty exciting results. Remember, this is not fabric, this has been embroidered, and it's given the bag body, and yet it's lightweight. So for those of you out there who already have a Luminaire or a Solaris, and those extra fills on your handout for the top-of-the-line owners, I have some suggestion starting points for using some of those fancier fills that, well, they're not fancier, they're just more different ones. And don't forget, you can experiment. Even if you have a machine that's a previous model, you can use this technique with whatever fills that you have. And before I let you go, I want to say that, yes, this is the 5x7 magnetic hoop. It works on the Stellaire. Even if you have an older model, you can update your machine so that it will take this hoop. Why would this be an advantage? Well, remember that single unit that I started with, that single 4x4 unit? It absolutely fits in a 5x7. And this hoop, well, it's so awesome. You can go from one to the other, quickly re-hoop. Say you're doing an overall design on a quilt, or the border of a quilt, or going around that bottom of the skirt, or whatever you think you need an embroidery that's not just this big, But this big, you can do that and it will match now. So I urge you to please go out, give it a try, play on your machine. Pour yourself a nice glass of iced tea, read the step-by-step instructions. There's room for you to jot down your numbers because these continuous fills, well, a machine like this can do them and they're really fun. It will expand your embroidery repertoire, I promise. I'm going to send it off to George. He's going to tell you a little bit more about the Stellaire. Don't forget, this machine can do a lot more than this.
Thanks, Kathy. That was an incredible presentation. And so let's go over the special offer we have on the Brother Stellaire series. So we have the XJ2, which is their combination sewing and embroidery, and the XE2, which is dedicated embroidery. They both share the same embroidery features, which is a large 9.5 by 14 inch embroidery area with over 780 built-in embroidery designs, and of them, over 100 of them are Disney. It also has over 30 fonts and large, beautiful monograms. And with the fonts, you can edit in all kinds of arrangements. You can arc, you can array, you can even cut and paste and kern it in some custom ways. Speaking of customization, you can take a design and do an automatic applique around it. And with the matrix copy, you can copy this very quickly to make patches. And if we had the scan and cut, we can actually send it to the scan and cut out those patches, and then embroider them beautifully. An additional advanced technology is a new 2-point laser positioning. I can take something like a name and position it perfectly on a line. I can use it to do multiple hoopings and match them perfectly. I can even use it for edge-to-edge quilting. Now, part of what the Stellaire series offers is a special relationship with the scan and cut. They actually can marry together, so I can send an applique design right from my machine and it will cut it out perfectly for beautiful applique. But better yet, I can send a design from my scan and cut and turn it into embroidery. It also unlocks a new feature where I can choose one of the colors of my design, whether if it's a built-in design, I can choose that and turn it into applique. But let's take that heart that I sent over. I turn it into embroidery. I select the color, and now it's applique. Now let's bring over the third part of the piece. I want to create my own fabric, and I can do that with Print Moda. I took an image of a rose and I arranged it just in a beautiful kaleidoscope of color. And I printed that fabric and placed it on in the scan and cut. I took my design I created on the Stellaire from the scan and cut, sent it over to the scan and cut it out, and I have one complete embroidery design created with that trifecta of creativity. Now the XJ2 also is a sewing machine, and it has a large 11.25 inch opening, beautiful lighting. It has 760 built-in stitches, from quilting stitches to applique to utility. It even has automatic stippling and some beautiful decorative stitches that are very, very wide. It also has an automatic 1/4 inch feature which moves the needle over a 1/4 inch from the foot, and you can use the laser guidance it has on there so you can just do some beautiful piecing. It also has amazing fabric control with an automatic fabric sensor, and this gives you the ability to sense multiple layers like in denim, or if I want to sew on some sheer fabric like this tricot, I can do that beautifully, or even working with elastics. It handles the fabric beautifully. If it's even more extreme, we can add the digital dual feed. This is a belt-driven feed system that gives perfect contact on the fabric. And so you see here with this marine vinyl, there's no slippage. I also can use it with such things as minky, which is hard to sew with, and of course, quilting. So let's talk about the special we have on the Stellaire XJ2. This is the combination sewing and embroidery machine. This has a manufacturer suggested list price of $12,999.99, and it's on sale for $9,999.99. We have interest-free payments, plus we're offering free shipping across the country. But wait, we have a special bonus. We're going to include that Print Moda Studio, that fabric printer by Brother. That has a retail value of $1,499, and that's included free for a limited time. Now, let's say we want the ultimate package, the trifecta of creativity. That's when we add the scan and cut. So you add the scan and cut, now we have all three items, and we have that on sale for $10,749.98. We have interest-free payments and free shipping across the country. But wait, this is for a limited time. Now, if I want just the dedicated embroidery, let's say you already have a sewing machine and you want the XE2, which is dedicated embroidery. This has a manufacturer suggested retail price of $9,999.99. We have it on sale for $7,499.99. We're offering interest-free payments as well as free shipping across the country. And of course, we're going to include that bonus, the Print Moda Studio, free with the purchase, and that has a regular retail price of $1,499. But let's make it the ultimate, the trifecta of creativity. You will get the scan and cut added with that, and that total package for all three items is $8,249.98. And we do also have interest-free payments on that as well and free shipping. But don't wait, this is a limited time offer. Click on the link to order. You can email us at customerservice@moores-sew.com or give us a call at 1-800-865-9664.